time.
Oh yeah, the video. Oh no. Okay.
Hello, we are Katya Plonova.
And Daniel Krause.
We work as linguists at the CNRS, and thus we are interested in how languages conceptualize the world we live in.
Our current project, called ComPLETE, focuses on the complexity of verbs. But what exactly do we do? Come along, we'll take you on a fascinating journey through the world of languages. There are about 7,000 languages currently spoken in the world. They show great diversity. They reflect our cultures and the way we think, and they play a major role in our daily communication. As linguists, we often ask ourselves, is there anything that is innate or universal to all languages in the world? While there are indeed some phenomena that can be said to be universal to human languages, such commonalities are in fact the exception. Today, we will focus on a linguistic phenomenon that challenges our view about language universality, namely so-called serial verb constructions.
Let us first step back from linguistics and think about different means of transportation. For instance, a car and a horse cart. While they are different in many respects, let us concentrate on the simple fact that the car consists of one moving element, whereas the horse cart consists of two moving elements, namely the horse and the cart. Now, the car and the horse cart are generally used for the same purpose, namely carrying a person from A to B. However, the horse cart will only function properly if both elements move together and simultaneously. Now let's apply this logic to languages. In languages like English, German, French, or Russian, you can easily express this section by using the simple verb bring.
Easy, right?
What if I tell you that in some languages there is no dedicated word to say bring, like in the European languages? Of course, that does not mean that such languages cannot express the concept of bringing. It just means that they do it differently. For instance, if I want to say I brought a bag home in Kinyanga, in small language spoken in Togo, I would have to say it like this. Nacho foroto bagewi. I brought a bag home. So, in order to express the bringing event, I will actually have to use two verbs, take, chu, and come, ba, which in combination mean bring. Here, the meaning of come is not meant literally in the sense that the person must actually physically arrive. The verb come just indicates the direction in which the bag is taken, namely, towards the speaker. This entire concept is captured in English by a single verb bring. We can therefore say that the African language Kinyanga employs a horse cart strategy using two elements for a single purpose, while English uses a car strategy. The Kinyanga example is a so-called serial verb construction because it consists of a series of verbs to express one single meaning. English normally does not use such constructions.
In a completely different language, namely in Abun from West Papua in Indonesia, a similar occurrence of come can be found. Look here. Kue gras kes mabur. The branch has fallen down. As you can see, no person really comes in this construction. It is the branch that falls in the direction of the speaker, therefore implying a coming action. In English, we would express this with a combination of the verb fall and the directional particle down, while French only uses the simple verb tomber. The typical configuration is that the order of serial verbs in a language is fixed. That means they cannot be used randomly distributed across the sentence. If we actually invert the order of the verb series, we can sometimes observe a changing meaning. I show you an example from the language Vurus, which is spoken on a small island in Vanuatu.
Orekbe mitekeleme. The woman cannot come back. Orekbe mitelekilme. The woman won't give it back to me.
You have now seen several examples of serial verbs. This term refers to expressions that consist of two or more verbs that form some kind of unit. In many cases, the individual verb semantics and the meaning of the whole unit differ from each other. Serial verbs are common in East and Southeast Asia, South America, West Africa, and Melanesia. We will dive into the latter two regions where many languages of oral traditions are spoken. That means they do not have standardized orthographies, dictionaries, nor grammar books. Now, if you want to find examples of serial verbs from such languages that are only spoken and rarely, if ever, written, what would then be the best strategy?
Well, in theory, you could just book a flight to West Africa, take a bus into a village where the target language is spoken, and ask native speakers to give you a few examples of serial verbs. But this project will surely fail. Imagine that you ask a random person at Paris Gare du Nord to give you an example of the conditionnel passé. Or try asking the cashier at a German supermarket to give you an example of Futur 2 passiv. Or ask your Russian neighbor what the difference is between pisać and napisać. While native speakers intuitively use their language's grammar without thinking about it, this does not mean that they can also explain it. So the question then remains, how to obtain serial verbs if direct translation and asking native speakers do not really work? We will show you two case studies about our methods that we use in the field in West Africa and Melanesia.
Ginyanga is spoken in Togo by approximately 16,000 people. It is an oral language, almost undescribed. When I work in Togo, I live in a village called Agbandi. I have 5 language assistants with whom I've been collaborating since 2019. A typical serial verb construction looks like this. Gebi gachu sula balo gewi. The child took it home on his head. Of course, I could simply ask speakers to translate random sentences from French into Ginyanga, but usually I want to find more natural occurrences in the language. In order to create my text collection, which we call corpus in linguistics, you will need the speakers to engage in a natural conversation or to produce text like stories. As this is not always easy, I prefer to record folk stories that people like to share in their daily life. I approach all the residents of the village together with my language assistants and try to create an informal atmosphere to let all participants enjoy themselves. Having recorded the folk stories, I start to transcribe and translate the text. Only after careful word-by-word analysis, which is possible through semi-automated parsing in programs like Elon, will I be able to find instances of serial verbs in my texts.
When I do linguistic research, I focus on the languages spoken in the region from Papua to Vanuatu, known as Melanesia. This region is home to many languages with serial verbs. My target language in Vanuatu is Vurus, of which you've already seen an example earlier. In the Indonesian part of Papua, I mainly concentrate on the language Moi. Here is a typical serial verb construction from Moi.
Jonathan Wene, Yisai Yisili Yusu Bain Pigik. Jonathan's friends invited him for a swim at the beach.
As you can see, 3 verbs are used here in a row to express the action of inviting someone to join them for a swim at the beach. But how do I collect such examples? Well, that particular example is in fact from a children's book in the Moi language. But natural examples often occur when I show my consultants videos of people doing something. A very useful method is short clips with complex events, in which I or another person performs multiple things at the same time. Video descriptions of such actions often trigger serial verb constructions. My consultants usually enjoy describing such situations, as they are fun and different from simple translation tasks.
Jauh juga menari. Aku balik.
Serial verb constructions, among other similar structures that involve complex predicates, as we call them, are studied in the ComPLETE project. It is a French-German project funded by ANR and DFG, which runs from April 2022 to June 2025. The objective is to carry out an analysis of the use and development of complex predicates, including serial verbs.
As a place to store our collection of complex predicates, our team has developed a dedicated database in which we use a set of cross-linguistically valid parameters that are needed for an adequate description of such constructions. It synthesizes months of reflections by a team of typologists and experts on individual languages.
Most of the 7,000 languages spoken in our world are threatened or even highly endangered. And probably things will get worse as, according to estimations based on historical tendencies of the linguistic landscape, up to 90% of all currently spoken languages could disappear by the end of this century. As linguists, we do not just study the languages, we also try to save as much as possible of them before they are lost forever, because every single language is tied to a whole culture surrounding it. Language is not only communication, sounds, or grammar, it is culture and reflects century-old knowledge. When a language disappears, we lose part of human civilization. Field linguists, like us, are one of the most important actors who try to slow down this process of extinction in collaboration with speaker communities.
If we based all our knowledge of human language on just the big languages like English, Chinese, French, Spanish and Hindi, we would basically know nothing, because they represent less than 1% of all languages in the world. We refer to these languages as LOL, literate, official, lots of speakers. Did you know that only 0.4% of all languages make up 99.9% of all websites on the internet? And almost none of these languages have serial verb constructions. So, if we only concentrated our study on the languages that are easily available on the internet, we would know very little about serial verbs. But why are serial verb constructions so interesting at all? Well, they show us how speakers conceptualize complex events in a compact way. We know that there are tendencies of certain verb combinations across languages and cultures, such as take and come for bring, hit and be dead for kill, walk and descend for go down, or do and give for do something for someone. These tendencies demonstrate that certain combinations are deeply rooted in the human brain, and they even make sense to us speakers of languages without serial verbs. While some combinations are straightforward and logical, such as sit and eat, meaning eat while sitting, there also exist very odd combinations, such as sit and fart, to mean sit on someone such that that person farts, or eat and sleep to mean blink. The cool thing about doing this kind of study is that every single language reveals new information, new knowledge, as well as new and sometimes even unexpected verb combinations.
If you want to know more about complex predicates, have a look at our project website. Thank you for watching. Wait, I forgot something.